Welcome to the Veterans Chamber of Commerce radio show and Happy New Year. I hope that you've had a great start of the new year so far. We want to welcome all of you who are watching, whether it is from Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Amazon Live, and of course, our podcast listeners. We appreciate you and your service. I want to remind you that this is the Veterans Radio Show, and without you, we would not be able to bring you this segment. So hit that subscribe button and please share this episode with another veteran and let's hear your thoughts in the comments during the show. We love seeing your questions live, so don't be shy. And I'm excited today to bring a new guest, our first guest of the year, Sonya Howard, who is she is the Action Coach South Atlanta, which, by the way, you can look her up on any platform on social media to find out more about her. So, Sonya, thank you so much for being on the show. How are you doing so far at the beginning of 2023?
I am doing wonderful. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been, we're into the third week already, and it feels like it flew by. It's crazy. But let's get right into getting to know more of you. I am aware that you are a Navy veteran, right? Can you tell us a little bit about how long you served and what you did in the Navy?
Yes, I joined the Navy between 85 and got out in 89, stationed in NAS Kingsville, Texas, NAS Meridian, Mississippi, and NAS Jacksonville, Florida. So
Okay.
just served 4 years, married a guy that was also in the Navy. So yes, just 4 short years.
Yeah, so you got to experience that dual military life, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been there. That was a little bit rough. It can be very rough. But and I can imagine back in the 80s, their policies were not so up to date as they are now. So, did you happen to have some time separated from your husband because of the whole dual military thing? Did you
Oh
experience
yes,
some?
that's a regular thing. The boat going out for 6 months, and when you come back, it take you half of the time to get used to each other, and by the time you get used to each other, the boat goes back out again.
Yeah. So, what did you do in the Navy?
Aviation mechanic. I was an
Really?
airplane mechanic, and then I moved to the aviation shop, electrician. I worked on H5s, H7, A7s. Um, so those are the planes that I worked on in the helicopters.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool to hear because I don't meet too many women that have done that job. And I get the same thing when I tell people what I did. I was a mechanic, so I fixed all the tanks and heavy wheel vehicles. So hey, we're both baddies. It's really cool to be able to tell that story. So, do you recall any type of experiences during the military that helped you grow to become the person that you are and to be able to do what you do today?
Yes, I always tell young people when they don't know what they want to do, go into the military. It will grow you up very quickly. By the time you get out, you will know what you want to do. Um, it's funny because I was doing inspections on airplanes, and all of the shops would not be happy with me because they would say, "Oh, that was already broken," or "That was already broken," and I'm like, well, I'm not signing it off. So you need to get somebody else if you want somebody else to sign it off. They would get really upset with me, but the what am I trying to say? The guys that were flying the planes, they were happy when they found out that I was working on their
Mhm.
plane. They were very excited about it. And now, fast forward, I ended up doing quality assurance also in IT. Have a degree in computer information systems, and now all of the developers were mad with me. This application is working just fine. Nobody's gonna complain about that. I'm not signing it off.
That's good. I mean, yeah, these flight crews, I can understand how they were very grateful that you were taking care of them because essentially you're preventing huge accidents that could end their lives. So,
Yes.
yeah, great job. And I like that you have that attention to detail, which I believe most of us are pushed hard to learn that in the military, but not everybody can execute it. And it sounds like you've been able to successfully apply that to everything that you do. So, was there a particular instance or memory event that you recall that inspired you to become a business coach?
You mean from the military?
Right. Or maybe not from the military, but it could have been something else. But I asked if it's for the military, that would be great to hear because I love showing people or having them hear the connection of a military experience because most of us, we do our years and then we forget about it and we don't relate them to how that those experiences got us to where we are today.
Well, that was a very important time, coming directly out of high school. When you leave your parents' home and you go into the military, you're serving the country, right? That's a huge thing that wakes you up. What I really love was that everywhere I went, people were like, "Oh my goodness, you're in the Navy." And everybody would just give us extra attention, and everybody would just be like, "Thank you for serving our country." Even to this day, people still do that. So that was really good because it gave you a sense of pride. When you're at home, you're just a kid. When you go and serve your country, everybody looks at you completely different because you are somebody that's important there. It gave us all a sense of pride. It doesn't matter who's in the office. We are under that president. We follow, we support that president, and that's what I love about it. And everywhere you go, military people, we all are family. No matter where we go, we build a family where we are.
I agree. I agree. That's the beautiful thing. Even after serving, that you meet a veteran, you're like, hey, you automatically have this like almost this personal connection, and it makes it so much easier to adjust to any environment if you can just find one of our own there. So, was there also any type of events that led you to become a business coach, not necessarily related to the military? Like, how did you arrive to that decision?
Right. So joining out of leaving the military, I ended up going to college to get my degree at Georgia State University. I got a degree in computer information systems. I ended up being a tester on software, IT software. From there, I was actually pushed to be a lead. From there, I was pushed to be a manager. From there, my manager position disappeared, and I discovered that there was a new position that was taking over that same um, list of duties that I was doing, and it was a coach. So I got certified as a coach, which I loved. Each one of those levels, I never wanted to do the next level. I only wanted to just take care of my work. I didn't want to be over other people, but people saw me as a leader early on. And so I was able to find this franchise that was also coaching. So it's a different set of strategies, but now I am a business owner and coaching businesses. So yeah, it was, I can see the process that it went through, that I went through now looking back.
Yeah. So then, right now, are you working specifically with military veterans, or do you work with the general population too?
I don't have a veteran client right now. I really am hoping to. That's why I'm here on this with you today interviewing, is because I really want to help other veterans. There are so many business owners that start a business just because you're a great painter. You start a business, you get three more painters. It doesn't mean that you know everything it takes to build a successful business. So there are so many things along the way that you need to know. And Action Coach has come up with a great process that we can walk you through, and you can build a successful business that does not work. I mean, well, actually, that works without you, meaning that you can go on vacation for 3 months at a time and come back to a business that's running successfully without you.
Right. So I was on your website, and you have a lot of great information on there, and it's called I'm sorry, it's called actioncoach.com. And I'm sorry, sonyahoward.actioncoach.com. And I noticed that you have different offers. So I want to dive into that real quick. But before I dive into it, I'd like to know, how do you help business owners get the right clients? Because, if I'm going to make an investment, that's one of the things that people usually ask, like, how are you going to make sure that I do actually get the right clients for staying in your coaching?
Yeah, so one of the things that we do as a business coach, we're always wanting to identify who is your ideal client that you're working with, right? Who do you want to work with? Who's the person that's not going to complain about the price of your products, right? It could be a big organization instead of just one individual person. How do we want to identify who are all of your targets? Based on those targets, then we're going to figure out where do we find them? What do they care about? Because all of your marketing should not be the same for every single target. It should be different so that we can say what they're looking for in your marketing and we can reach out to that person. So that's what we do. We start with that and then we have you do 10 different streams of marketing. Because if you're just doing one, that's one, 10% maybe coming to you. But if you have 10 streams of marketing, if each one is giving you 10%, then all of them added up together is 100%. And that means you have leads coming to you all the time consistently.
Right. Wow, 10 streams of marketing. That is really cool because I've spoken to a lot of business coaches and they don't mention I'm going to teach you 10 different streams. They pretty much say, well, I have these three and you're going to choose which one you want to start with. And if it works, then you keep it. If it doesn't, you just move on to the next. So it's really nice. It sounds like your program is really robust, which is something that's very needed because what works for one person might not work for another. And what works on one platform might not work for another. So let's talk about the different clubs that you have. I see that you have Action Club. And again, your website is sonyahoward.actioncoach.com. And you listed Action Club, Growth Club, and then your coaching services. So would you please explain to us each of those options so that people have an idea on how they can work with you?
Yes. So Action Club is a series of classes where it's education, it's also a little bit of coaching. We also do planning every quarter where you identify what you want to work on for your business for the next 90 days. Profit Club is a group where we all get together once a month. Maybe we having a beer, maybe we have wine, but we're coming together and we're talking about different things. I throw out a topic, different business owners kind of chime in about how are they using that in their business. So it's a little bit of education again. Then everyone gets to talking about what does that mean for their business. And then we all kind of chime in about given how are we doing that and how can we use that. So it's a little bit lightweight for those people who just want to be around business owners and, meet up every month.
I like that because you're also offering the opportunity to support one another, also to share ideas and network, which is super powerful. And lastly, you have your coaching packages. Is that group coaching or is that individual coaching? And how long is it for?
So we have multiple packages, right? I have something that works for everyone. You can do the Action Club, you can do the Profit Club, you can do one-to-one coaching. That's where you meet with me every single week for 1 hour. We work on your stuff, everything based on what you've decided that you wanted to focus on. We start with 5-year goals, break those down to 3-year, 1 year, 90 days. So whatever that is, you decide what you want to work on. We have over 350 strategies that I will give you. You pick the ones that you want to work on. And then every week we're working on those goals. I'm holding you accountable, showing you how to implement those. We have group coaching. Group coaching is where you meet with up to, it could be up to 8. I try to keep it to 4 group business owners in the community where together we're in the same session. It costs a little bit less, but you're in the same session. You're still hearing and learning from each other. So if someone else brings up something, it's still something that you need because you haven't thought about how they're implementing it. And then, of course, we have online communication, right? Where you can just watch a video from the founder, get some education, do the homework, and work on your own at your own pace. Every single video will give you tons of homework, and all of the homework is valid for your business.
Right. It sounds like you have a lot of systems in place. So for those who might not understand why it's so important to have businesses, would you please answer that question? Like, why should they have systems?
Systems.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. The reason why it's important for you to have a system is because Otherwise, it's in your head. All of the information is in your head. If it's in your head, you can't get upset when you hire somebody and they're not doing it the same way that you would do it, right? We
Mhm.
have to educate people. We have to get it out of our head, document it, and then we can delegate it to someone else. When we're able to do that, that means that it's going to free up your time. That means you don't have to be there every day, right? And then when you're freed up, your time is freed up, you as a CEO can go out and get bigger clients and work on the CEO duties, not the everyday work of doing painting the wall, right? We want to be CEOs and have the freedom to go out and do the bigger work of the business and let the people, the other people, the team members work in the business using our systems.
Yeah, thank you for answering that question. And we have a live question, and it is, what is the cost for group coaching?
So group coaching can be, I have a price for everyone. The action coach that I was, the action club that I mentioned, that's $75 a week. If you want to pay it by the month, because some weeks have 4, 5 weeks. So you end up paying an extra 375. But if you want to pay it by the month, you could pay it $300 a month. And then that's a 12-week commitment that we want you to do to get through all of the classes. Once that, we'll tell you about the next level of, you'll be ready for the next level at that point. That's the foundation of everything. And then everything up from there, we got group coaching. That's the group coaching, like, we don't like to give our prices out because there are other action coaches that charge different amounts. So that's the lowest amount. And then the online is $200 a month if you want to do that. So if you're interested in group coaching or one-to-one coaching, I have a complimentary coaching session. Contact me. We can talk about it. You walk away with strategies, and then we can talk about it.
Thank you so much. That's very, very important to know, because some people really, they want to start investing, but they're too afraid. They imagine this huge number that is not attainable. But I want people to know, for especially those who are starting out, if you think that $200 or $300 a month is expensive, it is completely not expensive. I mean, this is a great deal. So do look into it, and you'll see that the return of your investment will pay you back, especially when you implement what your coaches are telling you to do. And we're almost out of time, so I just want to make sure that we let people know where they can find you. So on social media, where are the best places to find you?
So my handle for all social media is Action Coach South Atlanta. So you can reach me out. You can reach me on there. You also, my website, my email is Sonya Howard at actioncoach.com. You can, if you're interested in the complimentary coaching session, you walk away with between 30 to 40 strategies. And then we can talk about coaching if you really want to do it. But all of those strategies, you can do them on your own if you want.
What other platforms can we find you on?
I'm on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. What's the other one? Instagram.
Yeah. So your handle is Action Coach South Atlanta everywhere on social media. So please check out Sonya on there. And you know what? If you're having doubts, or if you're just curious and you just want to find out, what she can do for you, just schedule that session, that free consultation. You just never know. And of course, your website, sonyahoward.actioncoach.com, has all of the information that people can also go back and read over the Action Club, the Growth Club, and the coaching. And also, they can go there to book your free session too. So, any tips that you want to leave us with before we close out?
Well, we never even talked about the 5 numbers that we care about as an action coach, which is getting you more leads, getting those leads to convert to clients, getting those clients to come back more often, getting those clients to spend more money, and reducing your costs. That's the 5 numbers that we care about. We make sure that you set goals in those numbers. We have over 350 strategies that we use in those numbers. So that is what a business coach does. We care about, is your business making money? Are you setting goals? And are you moving faster than you could be?
Yeah, great, great tips. Thank you so much, Sonya. I really enjoyed learning more about you, about your service in the Navy. So thank you so much for serving. And thank you for offering your services to our military community, because, as you know, we need all the help that we can get, because people are transitioning out of the military every single day. And sometimes you feel really, really lost. You have no idea where to begin. So you are a great source. And I want to thank everybody else who joined us. We talked with Sonya about her business coaching service, please check her out. She's on all social media platforms and her website, sonyahoward.actioncoach.com. And we'll be here again on the podcast and on YouTube. And please give us a thumbs up, share if you like this podcast, this episode, and come back and listen to us again. Welcome back. We're about to start our legal segment with Ms. Kelly Bagla and our founder, Joe Molina. And first, I want to say Happy New Year. I hope that you've had a wonderful first few weeks so far. So let's bring in Kelly and Joe. That way we can get started. How are you two doing?
Hi, Dolly. Hi, Kelly.
Hello, guys. Happy New Year to you and to everyone that's listening.
You
That's
know, I
great.
really, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off already, but I really missed you all because we ended the last show in November and it was so weird to just not see you guys and not have these conversations. So I feel like I'm back home.
Yeah, we took a very long break for Christmas and now New Year's, but glad to be back, and we are back on track. And we have, I know Dolly has great questions already set up for you, Kelly. And but also before we end the show, I would like Kelly, if you can talk to us about a new fund that we're studying, and we can do that at the end. And then, but first, I would like to give the platform to Dali to ask her questions. Um, so Dali, go right ahead.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, so Kelly and I were talking right before the show, and we decided, because we were reading each other's minds, that we're going to talk about new updates in the law because, it's 2023, things do change, and we sometimes don't even think about what to ask. So, Kelly, can you give us an update?
Absolutely, Dali. That's a loaded question
I
because
know.
when the new year comes around, it's riddled with new laws, and the new laws that I'll be focusing on today will be specifically just for businesses in general. But there are new laws outside of business pertaining to everyday life. Even jaywalking now is not; it's considered. Um, just a little misdemeanor. So they've changed that. So from traffic to walking in traffic to just your everyday life, really. So there are a lot of laws that have been implemented, and today I'll be just focusing on the laws in California. And prior to that, let me just state my disclaimer. I am a practicing attorney, and any information that I share with anyone or who is listening and may listen later on, uh, any information is just for informational purposes only. It does not create an attorney client relationship. Now, let's talk about at least the top three or four laws, Dali. The first one is the minimum wage increase. Every employer should know that the minimum wage has increased to $15.50. However, that doesn't necessarily pertain to nationwide in California because there are certain counties within California that actually have their own increases in minimum wage. So some are even $16 and some are even $17. So you have to really make sure that you are looking at the right law for this year. It's already been implemented January 1st, and specifically check in your own county as to what that county's minimum wage is, because many businesses get this wrong, thinking that the increase is generally applicable to the entire California, and it's not. And usually the county increases are higher than the standard that the state of California has set.
Thank you for that. So, this might sound like a really ridiculously dumb question, but I have to ask it because if I'm thinking it, I'm pretty sure somebody else is. So, actually, it's a two-part question. Number one, does this law of a minimum wage apply to small business owners? And number two, Does it mean that businesses will be penalized if they do not offer the $15.15 increase?
So, Dali, this is, and please, there are no silly questions whatsoever when it comes to law itself. Zero. The the $15.50 an hour. This is the first time in California that it does not matter how many employees a company has.
Oh,
So that is the bare minimum. That's the set. It's $15.50 an hour.
oh
Doesn't matter
wow.
one employee or if you've got 100 employees.
I cannot believe that this is the first time that they apply that part of the law. That's crazy. Okay, so are there any exceptions to that law where maybe the business has some kind of um, title or anything that states, okay, well, because you're this, you don't have to meet the minimum wage requirement. You can come right under.
Absolutely not. We're talking about California, Dolly. There are zero exceptions to the minimum wage, zero exceptions.
Mhm.
And to answer the second part of your first question, are there any penalties? Absolutely. The state's going to come in real hard and they're going to penalize for penalties, fees, fines, and potentially this could really be detrimental to any business that have not implemented this. So if they came in, and we are probably in the third week of January, can you believe that? Third week of January. So if a business has not implemented the bare minimum wage increase, they can actually go back and rectify this and make sure that the wages that the employees have received is increased by what they should have received January 1st.
Okay, okay. I have another two-part question. Um, so, how about restaurant worker? Actually, that one is from LinkedIn that it came in. How about restaurant workers? And do they have to be considered W-2 only, or can they be 1099?
Restaurant workers, if someone's working in a restaurant in any capacity, they would have to be employees, a W-2, have to be an employees.
Mhm.
And yes, the minimum wage is across all industries as well.
All right. So then, if I am contracting a virtual assistant and it's 1099, then I still have to pay her a minimum of that minimum wage set by that state, right?
Right. So
Okay.
if you are hiring an independent contractor, usually an independent contractor, Dolly, will work on a project base. So if it's going to take them, 1 hour or 5 hours to complete a project, they usually give you a flat rate for that project rather than on an hourly, because that's one thing that can kind of push the relationship over to an employee rather than an independent contractor. So as far as independent contractors go, I would highly recommend that the contracts that companies use to hire them have at least project based work rather than just hourly work. And yes, you cannot agree with someone, even if someone's willing to say, I'll work for $10 an hour. I don't really need the money. Cannot do that. The law is the law. Can't skate around it. $15.50 is the minimum wage for this year.
Thank you so much for clarifying that, because there's always people thinking maybe there's a loophole, maybe because I can't afford it. So thank you so much for clarifying. So you said that there was another law you wanted to touch base on that just was implemented.
Yes, absolutely. So California has legalized cannabis now. And prior to the law being legalized or admitted, there were so many employers, if you will, that were very concerned about employees actually using cannabis while they were employed. And so you can, as an employer, you can limit if it's recreational, you can limit that and say not in the workplace. However, an employer cannot discriminate. This is the second law, cannot discriminate against an employee or a job applicant who uses cannabis off job hours, off work, or away from work. So if, for example, you're potentially, so someone applies and they say, yes, I take cannabis for medical reasons. That's medical reasons, and you cannot discriminate. If they say, oh, yes, after hours we go to a a cannabis lounge, and we go hang out there, and the employer overhears this, or they find out, they cannot let or terminate that employee go based on the employee consuming cannabis after hours.
Oh, this is so interesting. Thank you so much. Okay, so I have follow-up questions. HIPAA, because you mentioned, you're right on there. Yes, I use it. Can they ask you if you just say, yes, I do use it? Can they ask you, is it for medical reasons? And if it is, you have to provide proof. Is that violating HIPAA law?
As a general rule, in California, again, Dali, we're not really allowed to ask, right? We're not allowed to ask job applicants or even employees to ask them if they use cannabis or not. However, the employer can put in their employee agreement to say that the company does not tolerate any use of non-prescription drugs during work
Okay.
hours.
Got it. Okay.
Yes.
So then does that mean that because there are a lot of government employees and also there are contracting companies for the government that require a urinalysis, random urinalysis to make sure that people are not, I guess, going to work high. So how does this law apply to those employees?
The the employer can still do random testing as long as the employer has that specific language in their employee agreements and employee handouts, employee books, if you will. And if the employee came into work, say after work they went and partook in cannabis, and the next day the employee went to work and it was going to be the random testing. Well, at the time the employee is tested, if the employee is actually on, they just took some cannabis products, and you can see signs of that, then clearly that goes against the policies of the employer. But if they go into work the next day, they're perfectly fine, they're functioning, but yet the urine test comes back negative, like, or positive, that they did use it, the employer is still not allowed to terminate the employee. That falls under the discrimination definition that they've just expanded this year.
That's so interesting. Thank you so much for answering that question.
Mhm.
I'm sure people have many other questions related to this because it has been such a hot topic for a long time. Um,
Yes.
we have another question from LinkedIn coming in. Can a business hire family members, in parentheses, children? Minors? I'm not sure.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Can a business hire family members, children, in parentheses? Minors?
Absolutely. There's no law or rule against hiring family members. When it comes to children, children are allowed actually to work for minimum wage. You cannot hire your kid to come in for $5 an hour just to clean up. No, you cannot do that. That is slave labor. That is child labor, and that is against the law. But yes, you can hire children, absolutely, as long as the parents have signed off on the child working, and also that the child is still making sure that they're continuing their education and it's not affecting that part of it. But on weekends, after school, yes, a company can definitely hire family members.
Yeah, that's a really great question because when I began my business, I wanted to hire my children. And let me tell you, I pay them well for being little kids, $20 an hour. Okay.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they were expected to also do great work when they did. So they earned it. But I recall being told that I could actually formally hire them, put them on a W-2, not just 1099. And pay them like a normal regular employee. And I remember they said you cannot pay them, less than minimum wage. So, are there any warnings that you would like to share? Maybe something that you've seen that people think they're doing right when they're hiring minors? Because the only thing I can think of, something you said is, as long as they're keeping up with their grades. Are there any other tips that you can give us that's related to hiring kids?
Absolutely. I actually, about 6 months ago, I do believe that I wrote an article for the San Diego Veterans Magazine, and it was specifically where children, different types of businesses that would be perfect for children. So as long as, again, you pay them at least the bare minimum wage, this doesn't affect their school, and also it would be a great idea to maybe open a bank account for the child. The child cannot go in and open their own bank account. They're not of legal age. But as the parent, you can open a bank account for the child, and that money can go directly into that bank account. Or you can open some sort of investment account for the child. That's always a great tip. And that way they start early. And as the parent, you can contribute also too. And this way, the child has money for college, or they have money for trade school, and you're teaching the child earlier on what money is, how
Mhm.
how important it is, and how to actually utilize it. I think that's an incredible lesson for any parent to teach their children earlier
Yeah.
on.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. That's one of the things that I did. I actually had them open a Roth IRA, and they were like, "What is this IRA thing? Like, why do I need it?" I'm like, "Oh, you will thank me later." And yeah, the bank account. I believe they use a term like parental bank account or something like that, which was also a huge benefit to me as the employer because you can just direct deposit the money in. And yeah, that was an interesting experience because I remember my business cut the check and mailed it out,
Mhm.
and they received the check and they were like, "Oh, what do I do with this thing?" They'd
Right,
never seen this check.
exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I had to teach them how to do all of that, sign the back and all that. Now, what about with getting permissions for minors to work? I know that there's permission that you have to ask from the school, and there's also from the government, right? Like I think a work permit or something.
No, you don't have to ask any permission from the government at all. Again, as long as you're following employment law. Joe is shaking his head. Exactly. Definitely the parents. Yes, the parents have to sign off on everything. And just touching back upon the child's future, where they are investing in their own future, there's
Mhm.
another account, and I believe you can open it with a brokerage account. I believe it's called a cafeteria account where the money goes in, and that specific money is only for the child's education. So that's another great account to look into if you are
Right,
trying to help your child save up for college.
right. And Joe says a custodial account is what I was referring to in the bank,
Yes.
where yeah, the parent has to open it. Yeah, yeah. These are great topics. Are there any other laws that we should know about? That just
Just one more, because I like I said, I could go on for hours, darling. We don't have that much time.
oh, I'll be
But
there
just
with you.
one thank you. Just one more, which is pretty important, and it affects the privacy rights, and that just came in January 1st as well. And many people were concerned about that, especially businesses, because in the past, businesses could actually sell employees' information to other businesses that are in the business of retrieving personal information of individuals so they can sell them to other people that want to market to that particular group. Now they have amended the privacy laws where the employees of companies are also protected now, and the company that wants to sell private information, personal information, must obtain the consent of the employee first. So that was huge right there. Employees probably didn't even know that this was, it was allowed. A company was allowed to do that. So now the employees' information is also protected.
Wow, I didn't even know that
Mhm.
employers were allowed to do that. I thought it was just the credit bureaus, because that's really what their business is, selling your information, and like Meta, Twitter, all these marketing companies. So that's really good to know, especially now that I've seen a rise in identity theft of minors because people are like, oh, nobody's checking the kids' social security number if it's being used and all that, which is a whole nother conversation. I'm going to stop right there. And I'm going to ask Joe. Joe, do you have any questions? Because I've been asking most of them, and I want to allow you the opportunity to ask anything
No,
else.
I think those were really great questions. And I think, Kelly, thank you for covering the new laws.
Mhm.
And I'm very intrigued and interested on, you know, how this new laws can, one, affect the businesses. They have to pay more, but also benefit the employees. And I'm very happy to see that the restaurant groups and waitresses and bars and all those places have come up to the level of paying their employees their right wage, instead of relying on the customers to pay the hell they have for the wage, which I never thought I was fair. So
Mhm.
so this is really good, really good. But yeah, we are out of time, and I want to thank you, Dali, for the great questions, and you, Kelly, for the great information. And I think we can probably meet separately, Kelly, and talk about the fund, and let our audience know what the fund is about. But we can do that in a separate segment. We don't have to do that
Absolutely.
today. So,
And I'm sorry, I asked too many questions
oh
and didn't
no,
make time for
no,
that.
that was great. I was kind of
Thank you.
expecting you would, because that
Yes, me too, Dolly.
you have really great questions. So I love it.
Thank you. My little my brain is always working. So
Yeah.
lastly, I want to make sure that people know where to reach you, because if they're amazed about the wealth of knowledge that you have, where can people best reach you?
They can go directly to my website, baglalaw.com. They have a contact form that they can fill out and we immediately respond. They can call the office at 760-579-6789. And guaranteed, if we do miss your phone call, we will always return your phone call. That's the number one complaint about attorneys, Darlie, is they never call us back. But every single time we call someone back, we get new business.
And
Do the right
ta-ching,
thing, right?
right?
Exactly. Exactly. And simply you can just even Google me, just my name, Kelly Bagler, and you'll see a litany of information that I've put out there. And again, everything that we do, it's always to support entrepreneurs.
And,
Wonderful. Thank you so
and
much.
one last thing, I wanted to congratulate Kelly on your new uh, um, award from the magazine. Um, I posted that on LinkedIn, so you should also be connected. But that's one more award under your belt. So that was really cool.
Thank you so much, Joe.
That's
Wow.
Thank
great.
you.
That's amazing. I didn't know. So congratulations. That's got to
Thank you.
feel really, really good, because I know that you work a lot. Just to keep yourself up to date with all these laws is a lot of work, because I do research for my own stuff. So kudos to you. And I want to thank, well, thank you for being here and always coming and sharing the knowledge and offering your services. And I also want to thank each and every one of you who are listening or watching us on YouTube. Remember that for our legal segment, you can email us some questions in, or you can always post them while we're live. We love answering questions, and we'll be here for our next episode as always. So I want to wish you a wonderful weekend. Be safe, and remember to spend time with those that you truly care about, because life is short. You just never know how long you're going to be here.